All right, we are back talking thoroughbred horse racing on Prime Sports Network. And as you can see, Chad Summers is there. I'm here. And, well, wait a second. I see a sign here that is talking about the road to the Kentucky Derby. What's behind this sign? Oh, it's Jon Hardoon is behind the sign. How's it going, John?
Good. How are you?
Doing good.
I have returned. I was on a mission somewhere, and I came back.
Just in time. Beginning of March. Kentucky
Yes,
Derby
sir.
prep time as we.
The Ides of March are upon us.
Chad actually found me wandering in the desert when he was in Saudi Arabia.
Yeah.
He wandering in the desert, and he brought me back with him.
You made it back in one piece, Chad.
I did. I'll be happy when the horse gets back. He's still there for another 2 days, but
yeah.
But it's all good.
All right. So actually, the last couple of weeks, we had a couple more Derby prep races. We're going to do 3 today. That's right, 3. The Fountain of Youth, the Gotham, and the San Felipe. The last 2 weeks, the Risen Star and the Rebel. And the Risen Star, of course, won by Angel of Empire. Chad, we haven't spoken since then with Angel of Empire, a long shot coming in, and Tappett's Conquest, a horse that we both liked. Very disappointing. It looked like he had all the opening he wanted in the world down the stretch and just did nothing.
Yeah, he's turning into a little bit of an inconsistent horse. I think, first of all, great ride by Luis Saez that day. Angel of Empire was just, I don't know that he was the best horse in the race, but it was the best ridden horse in the race. And you know, in these Derby prep races, especially, and we see here, you know, it's good to welcome John back in the fold on a day where we're covering 3 races with full fields. You know, we spent so much of the year in these stake races with these small fields, 5, 6 horses. You know, here you got
Imagine
15
New York
in the Gotham. Even in California, there's a ton. So, you know, and a full field in the Fountain of Youth as well. So, to me, the jockey and the positioning and how the races run is becoming almost equally as important as how good is the horse. Now you're going to have to start getting good trips and work out, you know, kind of what you want to do here. And we're going to see that all day on Saturday as well.
And
I don't think you saw the Derby win and run in any of those races so far. That either one of the last 2 weeks. Just my opinion.
I'd probably agree with that.
One of our viewers actually, let's see, made a comment regarding Arabian Night. Jared Rogers says Arabian Night isn't ready. He hasn't beaten anyone of significance, and there will be other speeds in the Derby. So let's see how he stands up in a 20-horse field.
Look, I mean, he might be right. I mean, he's been brilliant in his 2 races, albeit facing nobody. But, I mean, he ran on Breeders' Cup Day at Keeneland, where you think it'd be a good race. And, you know, determinedly was in there, and he's run a couple of okay races. And then last time out, when he was at Oaklawn in the Sea of Slop, I mean, he had to overcome the track and everything else. And, you know, the interesting thing is he's had just one workout since that race almost 4 weeks ago. So a little bit more than 4 weeks ago. So he's just, you're playing with borrowed time. And when we talk about the race in California, it'll be interesting to note that almost all of them missed their last workout because when it rains in California now, the track is closed.
They're never going to run on a sloppy track again. The biggest problem is if it rains on Breeders' Cup Day there, what are they going to do? Cancel racing?
Cancel racing.
Yeah. That'll go over well. And then the Rebel last week, it was confidence game at 18-1 in a sloppy track. So you can't take anything from that race for verifying a Giant Mischief, right?
Yeah, well, Giant Mischief doesn't want to go that far. I've never liked the horse. I've been against the horse from day one. I thought the horse was a little bit of a fraud, and he's fine. I think races like the Pat Day Mile and the Woody Stevens will be fine for him, but I don't think he wants to go any further than a mile. Verifying would be the disappointing one out of that last race. But Keith DeSormo is good for this. About once a year in these Derby prep races, he strikes with a horse at a price.
And they were always on sloppy tracks. You remember Exaggerator? Every time he ran, it was the luckiest horse and the luckiest trainer. Every time he ran, a quagmire, and he just loved the water. So
Yeah, I mean, look, Confidence Game's a nice horse, but to John's point, I don't think he's the Derby winner. It'll be interesting, just out of curiosity, to see where he runs back, whether it's the Arkansas Derby or Louisiana Derby. But I don't. I mean, he needs to continue moving forward. I don't know what he ran on the sheets, John, but I would think he's not fast enough at this stage yet.
not a fast number.
And finally, what about Hoosier Philly? Disappointing third to Brendan Walsh's Pretty Mischievous. That was a couple of weeks ago. Disappointed result there.
The horse had some trouble at the start and didn't get the cleanest of trips. But if she was as good as she was last year, and that's a big question now, she certainly should have beat that field, I thought. I don't know.
Look, I think a lot goes into this from a trainer perspective. When you give a horse time off from 2 to 3 or whatever the case may be, you're playing with fire because you don't know how they're going to come back, because they might need a race back. They might think about being a broodmare while they were turned out for a little bit. The filly was training really, really well, and it was very surprising how poorly she ran. But I would expect her to move forward. Sometimes you get caught with your pants down, and I think maybe she wasn't as fit as they thought she was. She didn't have a ton of works going into the race, didn't have a lot of foundation behind her. The works themselves were fast, but there wasn't a lot of them. And when they went so slow early on, going a half, I think in 50 or 51, it was just too much for her to overcome. But I would expect her to get a lot out of the race, and it wouldn't surprise me at all to see a rider change next time out.
You can be sure every agent, every big shot agent was on the phone as they were coming down the stretch, dialing Tommy.
And, I mean, look, take nothing away from Brandon Walsh's filly. I mean, that's a nice filly that won. But I don't think this is the last we've heard from Hoosier Philly. I'm not giving up on her off that last race. And if you get 5-2 on her next time, I'll double down.
But by the way, the Desorma horse was Confidence Game.
Yes,
he ran a 10 in the slot. Yeah. That's a big top for that horse.
All right, let's get started with Saturday's Derby preps. And the first one, based on post time, is going to be the Gotham. That's the race over at Aqueduct, race number 9. It's a mile race. Should go off about 5 o'clock, close to it. Again, obviously on Saturday. And a big field of 14. And in a 14-horse field, John, the odds-on favorite is the 13. Iron Clover. That's the Giroux Cox horse, who's basically gone wire to wire pretty much in his first 2 starts, running a 15 and a 13. Are you very concerned with that 13 spot?
No, it's a one turn. You're better off drawn outside at a flat mile at Aqueduct. It's around 1 turn. I would much rather be drawn outside than inside. Okay. That's for sure. The question with this horse is going to be, I guess, if he can get the distance. Both his races that he was very impressive in were both sprints. Now he's being asked to stretch out to a mile. And you can see, I mean, you're dealing with lightly raced horses. 1 race, 2 races. Who knows what they're going to do in their second start? How many times you see a horse go 15-10? It happens a lot. And that's the problem with the race. I don't know. I mean, you can make a case for a lot of horses in here. Again, you don't see 14-horse fields in stake races in New York very often. And that's the case.
The good news is being the favorite, he's only 4-1, which is, at least it's 4-1 is not a bad number. Could be worse.
Yeah.
What do you think about it? Go ahead, Chad.
If he's going to get this, I think he can see out a mile, a 1-turn mile. I think this is actually really good placement coming up here to Aqueduct instead of running 2 turns anywhere else. So I think this is the right move for the horse. They're talking about the Arkansas Derby down the road. This is not a very big horse. He's by looking at Lucky out of a Forest Wildcat mare. I don't think he has any interest in going 1.25 miles or 1.1 miles.
No.
When you take this race itself at face value, I think he's a logical contender. There's a lot of speed in the race, but he looks like he could be the speed of the speed. But it's also the first time he's running in New York, and some horses have the advantage of having run here before. So it'll be interesting to see what happens. But I think he's a definite contender in this race. I don't like him moving forward. I don't think he's one of Brad's top 5 horses moving forward as far as the Derby's concerned, no matter even if he wins and gets 50 points and he's in the Derby, that's fine. I don't consider him a Derby kind of quality horse.
Chad, the winner gets 50 points or 20?
It's 50 to the winner.
Oh, 50 to the winner. Okay.
Yeah, there's 100 total points on the line here.
Oh, that's how it's okay. So it's
well, they make the right move with him. After 2 sprints, they're stretching him out to one.
Correct.
And they drew a good post. I mean, listen, he could be tough in there, but I don't want to play a horse that's coming from fairgrounds in Oakland. This horse hasn't even worked over the track. Well, no one works over that track.
Yeah, the 3 top contenders behind that horse, you've got the 5, Carmel Road at 6-1, the 10, Lugan Knight at 6-1, and the 11, Slip Mahoney at 5-1. The 5 is interesting because you just draw a line through the Keeneland race, and you have 19, 15, 12. The 10, meanwhile, Lugan Knight is also...
Yeah, but go back to the 5 for a minute. It's first time away from Baffert. I'm sure Baffert's still training or giving instructions or whatever, but those races were for Baffert, and now he's going for Tim Yakteen.
It's different this year than last year because last year Baffert himself wasn't allowed on the grounds.
Right.
So everything was black mission ops. Now, even if the horse is in Tim Yakteen's barn, and I don't care if Tim Yakteen says that Baffert's not talking to him.
He's training. We know.
At the end of the day, Baffert can watch the horse train every day. He left yesterday or today to come to Aqueduct. It's not like he's going to be out of his care for a long time. The bigger thing to me is I can't toss that race, Greg. That race was horrible when he ran in the Breeders' Futurity. He didn't run a lick. The Baffert barn didn't like him that day. In fact, he was on the also eligible list, needed a scratch to get in. And he didn't run. Then you go back and you say, okay, well, he ran second in the Los Al Futurity. Well, we're going to learn a lot about the Los Al Futurity on Saturday because you have this horse was second, and then the first and third horses are running back in the San Felipe and haven't run since then. I don't know how much credit or creed to give to the Los Al Futurity. I don't know how good this horse is. He's coming off a couple of decent workouts, but I don't think that he is the end-all, be-all. And because it's Baffertine, he's going to take a lot of money.
Well,
don't you think he would have come with a rider, Chad? I mean, the fact that he's using Cancel.
Well, he has four horses running in the San Felipe.
Yeah,
so I think he prefers the 4 that stayed home more so than this horse is my guess. I'm against this horse on the day. As much success as Baffert has had when he ships his top 3-year-olds, believe it or not, he has not had a ton of success shipping into New York. Other than maybe Congaree was the last one I can think of that really shipped well as a 3-year-old. He likes that Oaklawn surface. He's done really well shipping horses to Oaklawn. He sent horses to New York, but has not really had a ton of success here. And I'm not willing to say that this one is the next top one.
He's done well shipping to Saratoga. Didn't he win with Arrogant?
But that's different. I'm not talking about just in general. I'm talking about horses on the Derby Trail.
By the way, there is another ex-Baffert in here, the 8-horse Fort Warren, who was sent to Brittany Russell.
Yeah, I think Fort Warren's going to scratch. There's going to be some scratches in this race. Fort Warren's cross-entered in a stake race at Parks on Monday, a $100,000 stake at Parks. I think he ends up there. And then one of the other favorites actually in the race, Recruiter, the number 14, he's 12-1 for some reason, even though he's undefeated. He's 4-5 at Parks on Monday in a sprint. I imagine, especially with the outside post, I would imagine that Cal Lynch will scratch and run him at Parks, which would draw in the number 15 Radio Red. And the one horse, Clear the Air, is cross-entered in a stake at Turfway. I think he ends up coming here, though, because he's on the also eligible at Turfway. So there are some moving parts in here, but I do think that Fort Warren for Brittany Russell, the number 8 horse, and the number 14 horse, Recruiter, both likely to scratch from here and run Monday at Parks instead.
All right, what about the 10, John, Lugan Knight, coming off back-to-back 12s, including a 12 at Aqueduct at 1 mile, going wire to wire last month?
Yeah, there's nothing wrong with this horse, but I don't think this horse wants to go one step over the mile, to be honest with you. So He's going to be all in for this race, and again, I don't think he's going to run in the Derby, even if he has the points. Again, I think 1 turn miles as far as he wants to go. The horse has never done anything wrong. 12 Top is a 2-year-old. Came out, ran at Aqueduct at 12 on a wet track. And by the way, that's another thing. It's supposed to rain Saturday or Friday night into Saturday, isn't it, Chet?
Yeah.
So we could be dealing with an off track as well.
Okay.
And a lot of these horses never ran on an off track, and it's just another handicapping, problem that you're going to have to deal with.
What do you think about Lugan Knight?
Look, I mean, as far as Lugan Knight's concerned, I agree with Jonathan that Miles, as far as he wants to go as well. The interesting thing is, for trainer Whitey McCarthy, he kept a small string in Kentucky. This horse has stayed in Kentucky rather than being in front of Whitey's eyes himself in California. I would have preferred him more staying under McCarthy's care than being at trackside in Louisville. And there's a quote out there from him saying that they plan on being forwardly placed. He's drawn
not Saturday ain't going to be forwardly placed.
He's drawn in post 10 with Iron Clover outside of him, Recruiter if he runs outside of him, although I don't think he runs, and some other speed inside of him. I just feel like Lugan Knight can end up in no man's land here, and I'm not sure. Again, I'm not a big believer in that horse that he beat last time. Look, I know he got a good number and all that kind of stuff, but Arctic Arrogance has come back and he's ran just okay since then. I just, General Banker was a suck-up third. I don't know really how strong that race ends up being. And so I'm going to take a shot against Lugan Knight, even though I think a mile is probably as far as he wants to go. I don't know how good he is, to be honest with you. I need to see more. I didn't think that last race was as good as others did.
All right.
So I'm against it.
As far as a long shot, what about Clubhouse, the Pletcher horse, who is coming off a 15 and a 14, and at least he's heading in the right direction. But any chance that you can get a top for Club? I mean, it is a long shot. We're talking about a 20-1.
Yeah, well, listen, with 20-1s, we never argue with 20-1s. The problem with this horse is that he's had a long campaign, as compared to the rest of this field. He's now making his 8th start. Yeah. How many horses in this race? So basically what you see is what you get. Not only that, the 15 that he ran this year was with Lasix. 14 last time out was without Lasix. Obviously, he's not going to run on Lasix Saturday. But he didn't really, he's okay. He's okay. He's like a lot of other horses in the race as far as I'm concerned. What I don't like about him is the 7 starts coming in.
Yeah, that's his 3rd start since, January, mid-January? Yeah.
Since the first of the year.
My issue with this horse is more along the lines of, look, Todd Pletcher knows how to get one to the Derby. He's won it twice. He's running about 50. He's had about 50 starters. This horse went a mile. He broke his maiden going 7/8. Then he cut back to 3/4 last time. He ran in the Jimmy Wingfield going 6 furlongs, and didn't really have much of an excuse. He was second best.
By the way, the worst
back out to a mile. He's not treating this horse like one of his typical Derby horses. So I just think they're taking a shot here. I don't think that he's one of the more highly regarded horses in the Pletcher barn. And I don't think he's much of a factor, to be honest with you.
Another problem, Greg, with this horse is the worst race of his career was run on a sloppy track. 3 races back. The 28 at Aqueduct was on a sloppy track, and if the track comes up wet, well, that's not good.
Yeah, so normally, let's see, if it's going to be raining Friday and then raining in the morning, what is it going to be? You think it'll be a good track?
No. The problem in New York, and this really is never talked about. New York winter track. They used to have a special winterized track that they'd have the right chemicals on it, and it was the safest track in America. They decided, because they're going to build Belmont, to build a second turf course, and they closed the winter track. So the track we run on in the wintertime now is not a winterized track. And because of that, it's not treated properly. It's not they didn't want to spend the money to redo that track for the wintertime because they feel like Aqueduct's going to be closed within the next couple of years. So that track does not handle water well. When it rains, it pours. And if it rains at all on Friday, the track will be sloppy on Saturday, no matter what they do to it. It doesn't handle the water like some of these other tracks. It doesn't have the proper drainage. When it freezes, it's just they're up against it. So I would if you see rain at all on Friday, I would operate under the assumption that it's going to be a sloppy track on Saturday.
What about how great is?
They don't call it sloppy. Even if they don't call it sloppy, it will still be
okay. How about how great is Nate at 10-1 shot coming off a 12 last time, John, in December, 4 for 4 so far. How great is Nate, the 2-horse at 10-1?
I see. Oh, Parks in Delaware hasn't done it in New York. I don't know. He's okay. I mean, again, he's 4 for 4 lifetime, so he hasn't done it. He's similar to Recruiter. He's 4 for 4 also. Also at Parks, also out of town. I prefer horses that did it in New York, personally, if I had a choice.
Look, Andy Simoff is a nice guy. He owns a transportation company that ships horses. He's stepping into the big time with this horse now, running in a race like the Jerome. If it was a small 5 or 6 horse field, maybe I'd take a shot off the layoff, but this horse hasn't run since December. He's getting thrown to the wolves with horses who have recency, who have form. I just think even if the horse is a really nice horse and he's 4 for 4, take nothing away from him, he's going to need this race, I think, off the bench. Because when you're a small trainer, you don't have the proper workout mates and stuff like that. He can work the horse. But if he's working with another one of his horses, he's not getting enough out of those morning drills. I think he's going to need the race regardless.
And Slip Mahoney, the Cox horse at 5-1. The 15 was disappointing last time out, wasn't it?
Why?
Well, he had the 15 in December, so wouldn't you have wanted him to have a little bit more of a, an improvement?
Yeah, he hasn't done anything wrong. He's supposed to pop on Saturday. The problem with Slip Mahoney is the price. He's only 5-1. I would want a longer price than that, and maybe I'll get it at post time. Who knows? I mean, Dylan Davis opted for the 10 over the 11, so good luck to him. I guess he made a mistake, but we'll find out.
All right, so who are you going to go with? You have a pick?
It's really a game time decision. You have to see odds. I mean, you just have to see odds. Listen, I'm rooting for Slip Mahoney for selfish reasons. Chad and my son Joe, they're connected with this horse with Gold Square. So I have rooting interest. I don't have to play the race, and I'll be happy enough just rooting for Slip Mahoney and hope he runs
Chad?
well.
Besides Slip Mahoney?
It's by design that Slip Mahoney's spent the winter in New York to target these kind of races and avoid some of the bigger horses at fairgrounds in Oaklawn. So far, it's worked out despite running against horses like Tapper Trice and Litigate in his first 2 starts, who have both come back and run very well since their maiden scores. It's from a pace standpoint. I think he should work out a good trip. I'm excited about him not being in the lead, even though he's made the lead his last 2 starts. I think he should work out a good trip here, which will be to his benefit. And he's a fighter. He's gonna try every step of the way. His nickname is Tigger because he's the only one, and hopefully he'll be the only one at the wire. The one horse that I'm very interested in that we haven't talked about, and he's 15-1 morning line, and that's Transect. A son of Gunrunner. Obviously, we know how good Gunrunner's been as a stallion so far. He's 2 for 2. Obviously, those were both at shorter distances over the poly track surface at Turfway Park, Jonathan's favorite track. I see no reason why this horse shouldn't take to the dirt. I see no reason why he should have no issue at all stretching out. And he's coming in a little bit under the radar for a guy in Polo Lobo who certainly knows what he's doing. They spent a lot of money buying this horse for $300,000 as a baby. As a weanling, and I think he's one that would be that's definitely worth taking a look at, especially at maybe longer odds than he should be, because the connections don't come in with as much hoopla as
he's definitely bred for dirt. I wouldn't. Why'd they even run him on synthetic? Well,
Paulo trains there. He's based in Kentucky, and that's what they've been doing. So But I do think the horse should improve on the dirt.
All right, so what would be your top pick right now, Chad?
My top pick would be the little engine that could, Slip Mahoney, and then my second choice would be Transect. And I'm against some of these other horses that are coming in with a little bit of a sexy feel to them. I don't think that they're as talented as they think. How great is Nate? Carmel Road.
Well, it's a good race to make some money then.
Yeah, I mean, I think you can make money. I do think that Lugan Knight and Iron Clover can certainly be a part of the trifecta, but yeah, I think you can try and make money for sure.
Yeah, I'm gonna definitely work with the 5 and the 10, Lugan Knight and Carmel Road. And one of our viewers made a good suggestion. This is why I'm writing down your picks. He said at the end of the show, it'd be nice to get everybody's selections again. And
a recap.
Yeah, and that's exactly what I'll do. Okay, Santa Anita is up next. And we finally get a full field at Santa Anita, which is nice. This is I got the wrong cards there. This is the San Felipe.
We get a full field. We get a full field courtesy of Bob Yak team.
Yeah. The mile 16 race, and this will go off about close to 5:30. And like you said, Yakteen has got the 2, the
four of them.
Five
in the 11.
He has one of his own.
The 2, the 3.
Fort Babbage. Which, by the way, just entertain me for a second here, right, Jonathan? You're a horse owner. How would you like it if your trainer has the horse for you, and then he goes, "Oh, I got 4 others I just picked up that I'm going to run against our horse."
Well, if it was Chad, I wouldn't say anything. But if it was another train, I wouldn't be too happy.
So the one interesting thing to note about this race before we really break it down, because of the weather in Santa Anita, every one of these horses had to affect their workout schedule, except for the number 1, Chase the Chaos. He's based at Golden Gate and was able to get a normal breeze. He breezed on the 25th. Everybody else either breezed on the 19th or the 20th, a couple on the 23rd before the track closed. So this wasn't by plan. I understand everybody's in the same boat, but that track was closed for training for 3 days. And it's just interesting to know how these horses are going to react.
Okay. Yeah, in this one, the horse that interested me the most is one of those Yakteen horses, the 9 Fort Bragg, as far as the good value. Well, is this going to go off as the 8 or the 9?
The 9.
Okay, because I see PP8 on here. I don't know what that's for.
Well, there's a scratch. The 6 horse is scratch.
Oh, the 6.
Got it.
Scratch.
All right. So anyway,
yeah, Crypto Ride is
Juan Hernandez on board. I always like to take him when he's got value. He's having a really good year. He's got the 12 last time out, even though he hasn't raced since December. But the horse has been consistent with 13, 15, 12. What about the 9 for value, John?
He's all right, but I mean, he's going to have to improve to beat the 7, the other Bob Yakteen horse in the race. Isn't that horse really fast? Jazzy?
Yeah, he's got the 7 last time out.
Yeah, if I'm getting 7-2 on that horse, that's the way that I would go. I mean, listen, the horse ran a 9 as a 2-year-old in career start number 2, and he only bounced to the 13 off of that as a 2-year-old. He could have run a lot worse, and that was his first time going along. The 7 was with Lasix, but I don't care about that. He's coming off of Lasix. He's got plenty of time from the 7. Why shouldn't he run?
Well, so far he hasn't had a good number at the distance. Could that be a problem?
Well, he only ran a distance once, and that was
the bounce,
9 without any rest. Now he has time off of the 7. That's why I just think he's got this field over a barrel. And if you don't like him, well, then the whole field runs between a 10 to a 12, basically.
Chad?
That's why I like the 7 there.
I mean, look, Hajaji is obviously well thought of, I guess. He was a $3.5 million 2-year-old in training purchase in New York bred. He's a small horse. He's not very big. When he won last time, I think that race was 6.5.
Yeah.
Now he's stretching back out to a mile and a 16th. he's been beaten several times along the way by other Bob Baffert horses. In fact, his first 3 starts, he was beaten by
K-Rock, who's off the Triple Crown Trail. Speedboat, whatever, is off the Triple Crown Trail as well. They stayed with Baffert. They didn't move anywhere on the 28th when you had to move if you wanted to be, whatever.
Yeah, I mean, I think he's fast. I don't think he's really a 2-turn sensational horse. I didn't really love him at the 2-year-old in training sale in Maryland. I'm going to be against Hijazi here, to be honest with you. I mean, if you're looking at Baffert horses, to be honest with you, I prefer the other ones. National Treasure, I thought he's run well in all of his starts. Continues to get better. Son of Quality Road, who one of my favorite stallions. I know he's 3-1, but John Velasquez ends up on him. You figured John Velasquez probably riding the best of the Baffert horses, you would think. He's had a lot of success with Johnny over the last couple of years, so it wouldn't surprise me at all if National Treasure were to show up and run a really big race. And then I think at another one that's interesting to me is Go Rocket Ride. This is a horse that was really, really impressive first time out.
10
for a guy in Richard Mandela who certainly knows how to get one ready for a big race.
And he doesn't squeeze him early. So
Flavian Pratt sticks with him instead of riding another one for Baffert. I thought that was very, very interesting.
Well, he's never been on Hijazi, so Smith has been on him all the time. How about the other Yactinos, the one that really belongs to him?
So I mean, look, Practical Move's a horse that we really, really liked at the 2-year-old in training sale. In fact, we almost bought him. We came very, very close to buying him, and I just thought he was going to need time to develop. The fact that he won a grade 1 as a 2-year-old was very, very impressive to me, or grade 2 at South Futurity. But it's also the only time he crossed the wire first. He's a horse that's supposed to be better as a 3-year-old. My question is, does Tim Yakteen have this horse tight enough off the bench? He comes in off some really, really fast works, some 59 and 159 flat works. He's worked them 4 5/8 in a row. Very reminiscent of something you'd see from his mentor, Bob Baffert. I don't know that the screws are all the way tightened. That's what I want to wait and see.
Well, so if they're not going to be tight for this race, when are they going to be tightened?
The Santa Anita Derby. I mean, that's
okay.
And we'll talk about this with the Fountain of Youth with Forte. It's at this stage now, the way that the points are set up and everything else. If you feel like you have a nice horse, if you feel like I have one of the top 20 horses and top 23-year-olds in the country, these trainers are using these races purely as prep races, which makes it very difficult from a handicapping perspective, because not only are you
who's all in, who's
looking at past performances, you have to sit there and say, what is the intention today? Is the intention we're all in, or is the intention this is a stepping stone to the next race, because we want him to peak on the first Saturday in May? In the Gotham, what we talked about before, a lot of those horses, this is their Derby on Saturday because they don't want to go any further. So they're pointing for that race. They need to win that race. There's nobody in the Gotham who's using the Gotham purely as a prep for something else. The Gotham is the race that they're pointing for. In this race with these horses, I can't say the same thing. Practical Move is a horse who I think there's bigger things waiting for him in the future. I don't know that he's 100% geared up for this one. It is interesting to note, though, that Chad Brown is the breeder on Practical Move. So, for whatever that's worth.
Well, the sheet line looks pretty good, John, for Practical Move. I mean, it's pretty solid.
He's never done it wrong. He's a contender for sure.
What's the difference as far as what do you guys think when you have to choose between the 2 and the 3?
Well, the 3 did it at his route race was at Los Alamitas. So I would put more emphasis on the 2, who's been running at Santa Anita, Keelan,
the big tracks.
Losat was honestly, it's a second-rate track. So, to me, that's just my opinion.
Well, to me, the difference between the 2 and the 3 is the fact that National Treasure had that race under his belt in January. And even though it wasn't really the best race, he was 3-5 that day, and you would have expected him to run a little bit better. He did get a race under his belt, and I think he'll move forward off of that race. So to me, it's just a recency thing where he ran in January and Practical Move hasn't run since December. And I know you're saying, well, it's 1 month. Is it really that big of a difference? But it is, because Practical Move after December 17th spent 3 weeks of doing nothing, where National Treasure hasn't really missed a day of training. Just a little bit of a different strategy involved. I'm not saying that Practical Move might not be a better horse than National Treasure long term, but in this specific race, I prefer National Treasure.
And Skinner's overrated, right, at 5-1?
Well, he ran a 7 top. He's supposed to bounce off of that race. It was on a LASIK 7 as well. It was his first race as a 3-year-old. Just a big race. I would rather bet Hijazi off of his 7 than Skinner off of his 7.
Would that be the horse you're leaning to right now, Hijazi?
Yeah, but I like Chad's idea on the Dick Mandela horse, the 8, because he never squeezes them early. So he ran a 10 first out. You could be sure he's running at least that 10. Chad may have the right idea, to be honest with you.
Is that your top play, Chad, the 8?
No, I'm going to go with National Treasure. National Treasure is going to be my top choice, as finally Baffertine horse gets their first points on the Kentucky Derby Trail. Then it'll be the first one to qualify for the Kentucky Derby for Team Baffertine. But I do think that I like Go Rocket Ride too at a little bit of a longer price. But for me, National Treasure is going to be my top selection.
All right, and then the last race is the race at Gulfstream Park, and it's going to be a big day at Gulfstream. Would you say 5 stakes races, graded stakes races, John?
9.
9
stakes on the card.
They have 14 races. They start 11 in the morning. They finish about 2 in the morning.
And this isn't even their biggest day, right?
It's one of them.
Every day. This is the prep for their biggest day.
Okay.
Yeah. Well, Pegasus Day was pretty big. I mean, they do have other big days during. This is their championship meet.
And this is.
Or so they call it.
This is all about Forte, isn't it? The four horse, the morning line is 7-5. This is the horse that's supposed to win this race.
No, I don't know about that. I mean, listen, he ran well as a 2-year-old, but it's his first race as a 3-year-old. And Chad was talking about, coming from 2 to 3. You could be sure this isn't their main objective. So, like Chad was saying, I don't know that he's going to be squeezed for a maximum effort. I kind of like Rocket Can in here at 8-1. The horse has never done anything wrong.
Yeah, the sheet line is excellent, and you're getting 8-1.
And you're getting 8-1. I mean, he's a point away from the 4, right? And he's already run over the track, and he's got recency and everything else. I would take a shot with the 8 at 8-1. I think this is a good bet here.
I hope we can get 8-1.
Forte's a better horse, but not necessarily on Saturday. Not necessarily this Saturday.
What do you think about that, Chad? Those 2 horses.
I mean, the 8-1 morning line. I understand. I guess the final time was a little bit slow. What did Rocket Can get on the sheet
10.
last time?
A 10.
Yeah, I mean, look, he ran a tremendous race last time. There's not a hotter trainer in the world right now than Bill Mott. He seems to have the world as his oyster, and certainly makes sense that Rocket Can would run a big race here, back off of the win in the Holy Bull. The one horse that I want to talk about in here, and he ran in that race with Rocket Can last time, and that's Cyclone Mischief, who's 12-1, and he's going to be every bit of the 12-1. We talk about.
By the way, he was the favorite against Rocket Can last time.
Yeah, we talk about Keith the Stormer always has something up his sleeve on the Derby Trail. So does Dale Romans, and this is a beautiful, beautiful son of Into Mischief. I have no idea what happened last time. It looked like they choked him down. It looked like they were trying to teach him to rate and come off the pace. He looked like he wanted no part of. I think the strategy is different on Saturday. I think they learned that they don't want to do that. I think they're going to let him just kind of bounce away from there. I like the post. He's outside post and post 9. I don't know what happens with Mad, off the maiden win. He's a little bit faster, but I think Cyclone Mischief can sit a really good stalking trip there, maybe sitting second early on with Forte right behind them and Rocket Can behind them as well. I think General Jim's going to end up scratching. He missed a couple of days of training earlier in the week.
That's too bad.
It just kind of sets up differently here. And I know it's tough. And it's one of those things, and I like your opinion on this, Sean, but when you look at a horse's sheet and you see a number that sticks out so glaringly, like his first race of the year at Gulfstream does with Cyclone Mischief, if he can get back to that race, he can win this race.
Absolutely, but the problem, Chad, that I have with that horse is that race was Lasix. Was it a Lasix jump?
Uh-huh.
That's my big
Well, couldn't it have
question.
been a bounce?
Yeah, but he bounced too violently. Yeah, that 11 is out of nowhere. As a 2-year-old, he ran 16 top, right? And that race, it was just a Lasix pop, it looks like to me. I mean, if you're going to bounce, you'll run a 13. Or he bounced violently off the 11. So he may have bled for all I know. I don't know.
In this situation, what could be considered a wide open 10-horse field, and you're getting 12-1, is it one of those situations where, okay, be tepid. Maybe you're not pushing all your chips into the middle on the horse. But if you're going to play a pick 3, pick 4, pick 5 as an example, right? Does it not make sense? Like, wouldn't you kick yourself if this horse came back and repeated the 11 or moved up to a 10 or a 9, even though obviously Forte's numbers are much better? If he were to win at a price, I'd just kick myself saying, man, I'm willing to draw a line through that last race and give him one more try, and I'm getting rewarded for it at 12-1. Again, there's every possibility that you're 100% correct that he needs Lasix and he runs up the track again. But that little sliver of me that says, man, I mean, that race was so impressive, and Litigate came back from that allowance race and won the Sam F. Davis for Todd Fletcher. I want to give that horse. I want to give him one more try. I really do want to give him one more try.
Well, listen, he went off 6-5 last time against Rocket Can. So, I mean, I would just rather bet Rocket Can at 8-1 than Cyclone Mischief at 12.
Well, what number, Chad, do you not want to see Cyclone Mischief go at?
I mean, there's I would imagine with Forte in the field and Blazing Sevens in the field, and Rocket Can and Madge is going to take money off his impressive, maiden win first time out, and Blazing Sevens for Chad Brown.
But you're going to get close to 12-1.
I can't see this horse being anything less than the 12-1 morning line he is. I mean, if he's 5-1 or whatever, but then the contrarian in me goes, oh, he's 5-1. They know something, so then I really want to double down and I want to do more. So I don't know. I don't know that there's a number that I wouldn't like Cyclone Mischief at. It's really up to the horse to just show up with an effort similar to the allowance race he showed 2 back.
All right, so what about Blazing Sevens? Because you have Chad Brown, Joel Rosario combo, had the 9 in October, bounced a little bit to the 12 in November, but this horse hasn't, it's been 4 months?
Well, yeah, but it's Chad Brown. He's not going to send him out, and he's not going to run him in this race unless he's got him, right, in my opinion. I don't know.
Look, Chad Brown, when you talk about intentions from a first race back, I've never seen on the dirt, other than maybe Connect, any Chad Brown horse ever really look like super prime and super ready off the bench to fire a big effort. I'm surprised, to be honest with you, that they chose to run here. I would have thought that maybe they would have shipped this horse up to the Gotham.
I was going to say, why did they run him to Gotham? He should have run this horse in the Gotham.
Yeah, especially knowing that Forte was running in here. But, I mean, if you look at this horse, he had his first work back of the year after the Breeders' Cup, not until January 21st. That was 3/8 and 38. Came back again the next week, another 3/8 and 38. Then February, he's going 50 and 49. a couple of 5/8 and 102 and 101 and 3. I just don't think that this horse is tight enough, in my opinion. I think he needs the race. I think he's going to take money because it's Chad Brown and Joel Rosario, who's won a couple of races this month. So all of a sudden he's back. I don't agree with the 7-2 on the morning line. I would much prefer Forte over Blazing Sevens right now. If you're just going head to head with the two of them, let alone all the other horses with the recency point.
All right. What about, you talked about Go Rocket Ride and the big effort in the Santa Anita, first time out running at 10. What about Mage running an 11 first time out at 8-1?
This becomes a sexy horse that everybody jumps on and they don't run. You see it all the time. There's a horse. You remember there was that Mott horse, Chad, a few years ago that never turned out to be anything?
Yeah, he broke his maiden on Pegasus Day.
Yeah, he won by like 100. I mean, he was like so impressive, and then they fed him to the wolves, and they just that never works out. Not only that, this horse really wasn't that well meant. He went off 11 or 12-1 the first time he ran. So it's not like, you know, they had a big.
Oh, he was well meant. The connections got you the 12-1.
Okay.
He was definitely well meant that day, and he ran to it. I think it's a big ask, stretching out.
Stretch out to a mile and a 16th in career start number 2 against horses that have run. It's he's going to be way overbet. I promise you. You're going to see.
I agree with that.
All right. As far as can we excuse the long shot? Legacy Isle ran a 13 in January, bounced a little bit to a 15 at Gulfstream at this distance in the Holy Bull. Can we get this horse back going in the right direction, John?
Well, this trainer does real well in Florida. However, he does real well with cheaper horses. You know, I don't know how he's going to do. He's got that 113. You need a single digit. I mean, Forte has had an 8 as a 2-year-old. Rocket Can looks like he's moving to the 8. Even if this horse runs his best, it's not going to be good enough. Yeah, you want him to run, a 5-point new top. And it's not like he has the foundation as a 2-year-old. His top as a 2-year-old was a 17, which is not going to get it done here.
All right. And overall, the only other horse to mention, I guess, is Shadow Dragon, the 12-1 shot, because you got Mott, you got Ortiz, coming off a 12 at Gulfstream and the Holy Bull, running second to Rocket Can. But we're going to get a bounce here, John. At least we're getting 12-1. Yeah,
but like you said, he's 12-1. He's lightly raced. And like Chad said, he's coming from the hottest barn in America. So, while I don't like him, he's better than the 2, that's for sure. And he's better than some other ones. And again, it's Mott. So. And last time was at Gulfstream. He was 30-1.
Yeah, and it was the distance, too, at the Holy Bull. Yeah. What do you think at 12-1? Would you take... You prefer the Cyclone Mischief, Chad, over Shadow Dragon, correct?
Yeah, I mean, I'm not, to be honest with you, I'm not really sure where that race came from the other day. I'm not sure the Mott barn was sure where it came from either.
Well, it was 35-1. Not many people knew it. So.
I mean, they were.
Yeah, there's your big difference there compared to Cyclone Mischief, who was favored. Yeah.
Yeah.
I just feel like the horse, he was running late and nobody else really was, to me. I thought Rocket Can was visually impressive, did everything the right way. Great ride from Junior Alvarado that day. I thought Jose Ortiz earned second. Congratulations. If you had the exacta, you were well rewarded with the $74 payout for $1. But he's more of a can pick up the pieces at the end of the race kind of thing. I don't look at Shadow Dragon as a win candidate.
All right, so who are you going to go with, Chad, in this race?
I'm going to take another shot. I'm going to take another shot with Cyclone Mischief. I think Forte is ready. I think Forte runs a big race. I definitely think he's 1-2 and moves forward. But I'm gonna take Cyclone Mischief to get first jump and hold on. But don't forget, I mean, people might not remember. I mean, Forte, first of all, his race when he won the Breeders' Futurity at Keeneland, which turned out to be a really key race where he held off Loggins. He was a fighter, so he's not afraid to get dirty and get involved in a scrum. And then his Breeders' Cup, I mean, he was much the best Breeders' Cup day. I know other horses had some excuses, and Cave Rock maybe didn't want to go that far, but I mean, Forte was, no doubt about it, the 2-year-old champion last year.
Well, he's 4 for 5 lifetime for a reason. He's a good horse. I mean,
yeah, and he's gotten bigger. He's gotten stretchier. I mean, I know he's 7-5, and maybe he's not 100% cranked up, but I think he's about 95%. And so Forte is going to be really tough to beat. But I'll take Forte, and I'll take a shot at Cyclone Mister.
And I'll take Rocket Can with Forte.
So basically, we're saying the 4, the 8, and the 9. Those are the top 3 horses to go with in this race.
Yeah.
Okay. That's how we wrap it up again. And then also, as we just take a look at the other races at Santa Anita, John likes the 7 right now over the 8. Chad,
Good job.
you like the 2 over the 8. I'll throw the 9 in there with the 2 and the 8. And then at Aqueduct, Chad, you're going with the 11 over the 7. Yeah, I'm going to go with the 5 and the 10, and John is going to wait and see.
And we talked about a few weeks ago when we talked about Rocket Can last time, that the best horse on the card was going to be Tappet Trice. In California on Saturday, there's a 3-year-old we have to pay attention to. I haven't seen him in a while. Kangaroo Court returns. This is a $5,500 purchase from an Arizona sale last year, but I mean, he can really run. I'm looking forward to seeing him back in the entry. So look at earlier in the card for Kangaroo.
He's going to be a
Court.
favorite.
He'll be a heavy favorite. He should win, and then he can look to take one swing at a Derby prep, whether it be in Santa Anita or maybe even Sunland Park. But looking forward to seeing the return of Kangaroo Court.
And in the 3 races we did lastly, before I let you go, who do you say is the top Derby contender right now?
Forte. I mean, it's Forte is
he's the marquee player running Saturday.
Yeah, I mean, all eyes are on Forte. You know, to as the great Ric Flair once said, to be the champ, you have to beat the champ. And until anyone beats Forte, he is all the champ.
And then next week we're going to do it all over again. What do we have next week? We're not going to have these types of these 3 in a row, are we? We're going to. What do we have next week? We have, what is that? The 11th, March 11th.
Yeah.
Let's see, March 11th. We got the Beholder.
Got the Tampa Bay Derby.
Oh, the Tampa Bay Derby. We got the.
Oh yeah.
And we got the Beholder in Santa Anita. That's the Grade 1 race. But as far as Derby preps, yep, that's it. The Derby, as Chad said, that's only one Derby prep. That's going to be next week. So we'll definitely do that one. And maybe we'll do the Grade 1 Beholder on next week's show. John, good to have you back.
Thanks, guys. Nice to be back. See you soon.
Take care. Thanks a lot, guys.
Chad, talk to you soon. Bye, Greg.
Guys.